Why does she keep doing this? PR machine claiming Amber Heard is a victim. I made one video expressing my thoughts a month and a half ago. I thought that should be one and only. Case is over. Case she settled, and everything. Let's move on. Then her former attorney made a complete mockery of justice in a hit piece, opinion piece, in a UK paper. And I thought, oh, okay, now it's gotta be done. No. Let's check this out. The Stony Brooks Press says on Twitter, this case has proven that larger society remains a hostile environment for victims of abuse, especially if they are women. So far, okay. The mere fact that people went to expensive lengths to disprove her claims is shocking and should raise a red flag. And this to an article about why Amber Heard is not the scapegoat for false abuse. Listen, check this out. The mere fact that people went to extensive lengths to disprove her claims is shocking and should raise a red flag. To what end? Why is her claims being disproven a problem for abused women? You tell me. I believe that if you prove that someone is making false claims, that's a good thing, right? Why isn't that a good thing for these people? Let's check the article out. This past summer it seemed like every social media platform was talking about the Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard trial. When I initially encountered the case through a live stream on TikTok, I disregarded it. I figured two white, affluent actors would be able to live their lives regardless of the outcome of the case. I know now that this case has more meaning than I assumed. Heard is now used as an example in comments that appear at any mention of cases involving a male celebrity accused of abuse. For instance, comparisons were made between rapper Megan Thee Stallion and Heard, calling Megan a liar when she stood trial against Tory Lanez. I'm always online. Somehow I missed this. And I follow a lot of the people in the Amber Heard Johnny Depp case. The streamers, some of the lawyers, some of the article writers. This escaped me. These remarks have only recently been silenced as Lanez was found guilty in December. Might very well be true. I just say, never seen it. On the contrary, I've seen videos and articles and tweets supporting Megan Thee Stallion against Tory Lanez, and this from people who are Depp supporters. But maybe it's biased. I don't know. In both. Yeah. Let's continue. The uproar began when Heard wrote an op-ed for the Washington Post, speaking up about her abusive relationship and experiences after coming forth about her abuse. Oh, this is the same. A myriad concerning posts across various social media platforms ostracizing Heard or idolizing Depp become growingly worrisome. Well, in retrospect, it turned out that Depp was correct. These types of videos and posts were impossible to avoid, and they still appear months after the trial's verdict. So are the articles. In addition to this, people I knew, many younger than me, started interacting with posts mocking Heard and her testimony. Yeah? The most alarming fact was social media seems to be only broadcasting one type of message. Amber Heard is a money-seeking liar and Johnny Depp bears no responsibility for abuse. Johnny Depp's known history of violence and abuse, pro-Depp propaganda was, despite Depp's known history of violence and abuse. False. History of violence? Well, he a reporter of some sort. He has not been convicted. His former girlfriends, none of them says they have been abused by Mr. Depp. So it's not a history of violence and abuse. He has a history of some violence, none of abuse. Propaganda functions best when an underlying bias against a certain topic exists. Ta-da! Gender bias infiltrates most aspects of life. Ta-da! Like employment or healthcare. Now we're coming into my area. Employment and healthcare. Yeah, there is an issue about gender bias in workplace harassment and such. We are working on it. We're moving forward, but we have a long way to go. So far, a shred of something in this article, but are most dangerous in cases of abuse. Many people tend to shift the blame on victims rather than the alleged abusers. I'm sure there is, and I know there is. While they are very true that men also are victims of abuse, true, women face additional challenges when it comes to coming forward about abuse. Very true. In cases about rape, a significant amount of people tend to put the onus of the blame on the woman themselves. This means that from the start Heard would already find difficulty gaining support. Why do you choose Heard as a hill to die on? It has been proven in a court of law. At least I watched most of the trial. I watched her entire testimony, and you can see in a previous video my thoughts on it. Some reason that Depp was an example of an underrepresented demographic of abuse victims because of his sex, partly contributing to an outpouring of support. It's important to note that this case was not about him coming forward about abuse. It was about defamation because of Heard coming forward about her own abuse in an article. Her... yeah? These three words are correct. Her own abuse. Except it was her abuse of Mr. Depp. The verdict of the case is detrimental to efforts of abuse victims speaking up. False. The verdict of this case is detrimental to efforts of abuse victims speaking up because of articles like this, because of articles like Amber Heard's former UK lawyer, because of people on Twitter claiming it is. This case was about one thing: defamation. It proved that Amber Heard manufactured evidence. It proved that Johnny Depp in himself did not in return defame Miss Heard. The jury clearly stated on Amber Heard's three allegations that in the broad spectrum what she did was fake, false. It was only the allegation of Mr. Depp's lawyer that she had co-conspirators in this. That was regarded defamation, nothing else. Many Depp supporters rallied under the false guise of supporting a minority male abuse victim. What false guise? It's been proven. Yet their message in their protest suggests otherwise. Fans appeared in front of the courtroom dressed as these characters from movies. They bespoke Depp's immense social capital, a worldwide public fondness of him, and a likely reason why he won the case. Utterly false. Utterly false. This is stupid. This keeps going on. Heard stated in an interview that Depp is a beloved character in the eye of the public. Most people are familiar with Depp and harbor a greater affection for him than Heard. So what? This is important because abuse assumes a prerequisite of power, more specifically an imbalance of that power. Johnny Depp, through his influence and prominence, indicatively held more power in the relationship as well as in the public's favor. False. I say it outright. False. This is a false statement. He did not have more power in the relationship. Who lived at the apartments? Amber Heard did. Amber Heard's sister did. Amber Heard's friend did. Their friends' boyfriends did. Who had the power in that relationship? I say Amber Heard had the power. And she used that power for abuse, as proven by a Virginia court. It's important to consider that abuses aren't only outcasts of society, they are often widely admired by many. They are trusted and have a network of people who can vouch for their morality. I'm quite certain Amber Heard had those too. But abuse happened behind closed doors. It's private, invisible to those not exposed to the intimate side of abusers. This is a neutral line that fits Amber more than Johnny. Strangely, the case was widely televised. This rarely happens in Virginia, where the court hearing took place. And thank you for that, because if it weren't, we only would have seen court reporters who were, in my opinion, biased towards Miss Heard. We have only heard from people like Taylor Lorenz, who is extremely biased towards Amber Heard. And then the verdict would have been shocking. But now we saw it. We saw Amber Heard take the stand and lie. Considering this, it's difficult to imagine that the media coverage had no part in influencing the verdict of the case. The polarized post on social media and news outlets are spending thousands of dollars propagating Amber Heard messages all point to a power dynamic that only Depp is able to abuse. Check the news coverage. Check the news coverage. Check Washington Post, New York Post. Most, if not all, of the major newslets told a story from an Amber Heard perspective. All the way to the end. And afterwards. Some keep doing it. Claiming social media. When most, if not all, of the major news outlets were constantly misrepresenting what was going on in court. But articles like this seem to conveniently forget about that. Even before the verdict was reached, the case played into many anti-feminist and victim-blaming antics. Not only were Depp supporters perpetrating a false image of him, but they also discredited Heard by policing her testimony. Of course we were policing her testimonies, because what she claimed was not physically possible. You can't have severely sliced feet and not go to the doctors. You cannot have severely sliced feet and not tell your friends. You cannot have untreated severely sliced feet and just weeks later unhindered doing ballet classes. It's physically impossible. A common harmful myth that this case plays into is the perfect victim, meaning a person has to live up to an unrealistic ideal of flawlessness to be seen as a victim. This line supports Depp. Everything about this, Jesus. Depp supporters pointed out their dissatisfaction with Heard's emotional expressions over the course of the trial, which never seemed to be adequate. If she smiled, she's a liar. If she cried, she didn't. No tears. No tears. She's just performing. Her acting coach testified she has a hard time crying when acting. Her tone, actions and reactions were under constant scrutiny. Of course, it's a trial. And Depp fans used this as an opportunity to delegitimize her claims. I was on Team Heard at the beginning of the trial. I was on Team Heard the first 3 weeks of the trial. I was on Team Heard until she took the stand. Heard, in the eyes of many, was not a perfect victim, thus not warranted to be believed. As it showed in the court by her testimony, by the evidence, she is not to be believed. Depp supporters applied makeup to mimic bruises, attempting to prove how easy it was to fake injuries from abuse. So, at this point in the case, it was clear that Depp's influence was so strong that it caused women to feel the need to not only delegitimize Heard's claims, but also spread harmful rhetoric about other abuse victims, implying they are liars. I have no idea what she means by this. Amber Heard will still likely to be able to continue to live a comfortable life if she remains out of the public eye. Yeah, because she still has the millions from the divorce, because she has to this day not paid a cent in lawyers' fees. The settlement of $1 million will be paid by her insurance company. And she still has not paid by herself a penny or a cent to the charities who she pledged to give all the divorce money to.
I use pledge and donation synonymous.
The only money was paid by either Musk or Depp. Nothing from Miss Heard. The verdict of the case then has more dangerous implication outside of Heard's life, because articles like this claims it does. It's been spread by people like this article writer to women and men who actually are abuse victims. And you tell them it is significant. Nobody else. If a woman like Heard, white and affluent, is unable to be believed, she isn't. They proved it in a court of law. What does that mean for women who are not white? Nothing. It shouldn't. But you make it so. What does this mean for victims of abuse who are poor and have little social capital? Why don't you use these women as your hill to die on? I would support you wholeheartedly. Actual victims of abuse. It's the same old story. It's been told since the verdict. It's a hit piece. This almost the same arguments in every article, that this verdict somehow is dangerous to victims of abuse. It's only dangerous for victims of abuse because these people tell them. Stop doing that. Amber Heard lost, and in the settlement she acknowledged the verdict. It's not hard. Don't choose Amber Heard as a hill to die on. She is not worth it. She's proven in a court of law to be a liar, an abuser, who are prepared to manufacture evidence. There's no way around this. Please let this be my final video about Amber Heard. Please. I don't want to hear it. Tell me stories from, please, any newslet. Tell me stories about real victims of abuse. Stop doing this Amber Heard crap. Well, that's it for me today. You all have a nice day, and I'll talk to you later. Hopefully about a subject that is not Amber Heard. Or Andrew fucking Tate.